Hey guys, Saf here with another Raid Shadow Legends video, and in this video we're going to be looking at the new Heroes Path that has just launched. It is the Heroes Path where you can earn yourself a Roxam if you want for a very expensive price. We're going to be looking at the exact math in this video, but I also want to break down some other different options available to you so that you can basically make a decision if you want to go for some of the other rewards. Now, the other thing to note in this event is there are Titan points available. I touched on this yesterday in terms of the new Titan event. This is a much smaller one than the anniversary Titan event we had. Typically, the first 4 milestones here, the rewards are they're okay. There's nothing special in there. But if you are an avid Ultimate Death Knight user, then 4-star Legendary Souls, you're never going to get a more accessible 4-star Legendary Soul than this one here. So if you are using Ultimate Death Knight, it's probably worth you doing this Titan event. And then when you get to the final milestone, these rewards of a Legendary Book, of an Eternal Soulstone, Immortal Soulstone, a 5-star Speed Glyph, 100 gems, they're well worth it. Now, you need to basically earn 1,500 points. And to be fair to Plarium, they have told us in advance exactly how many points we can earn. They've been pretty clear here. They've said you need 1,500. You can earn 1,750. Remember that number. That's going to be important. So you basically means you can lose 250 points. Means you can skip 250 points. Now, in this Heroes Path, we have Titan points. We have 20, 30, 30, 50, 50, and 70. That adds up to 250 points. So it basically means you can, if you want to, completely ignore this Heroes Path and still finish the Titan event, but it will require you to do every Titan event beyond this and the ones that have already started. You need to do the champion training. You have to do the arena, the dragon tournament, all of them, if you want to get that Eternal Soulstone at the end. So you can kind of look at this and go, do you want a Roxam? Now, I have a 6-star Awakened, really powerful Roxam. I personally don't think it's a champion you should chase, but some people do like to play the game like Pokemon, you got to collect them all. So if that's what you want to do, you can go for it. But when you see the math breakdown, you'll see it's very expensive. If not, you can look at kind of like legendary books, or you can look at just these Titan points. We're going to create a path for all options in the math. We're going to be looking at every single option that I think you should consider, and then how many points do you need, and how much is that going to cost you in terms of shards and dungeon divers. Now, if this is your first Heroes Path, the way these Hero Path things work, you need to collect coins. You collect coins by doing 2 or 3 events that you have already experienced in the game. And they choose and change this up from time to time. Sometimes it's Artifact Enhancement plus Dungeon Diver. Sometimes it's Leveling. Sometimes it's Summoning Shards, Summoning Souls. In this one, we have got Summoning Champions and Dungeon Divers. And what you will typically find is one of them is much more efficient than the other one. One of them is much more dominant than the other one, and you kind of need to do the one that's more efficient to be able to get anywhere near the amount of points you want. And I'm pretty confident. I've done the math, but without leaking anything before we get to the math, normally the shard summon is the one that's really popular here. That's the one that they want you to be doing. That's the one that gives you the most amount of points. So what have we got in offer in terms of rewards on top of these Titan points? We've got an Eternal Soulstone or 20 Eternal Essence. Now, the 20 translates to about 1,000 of that sort of third, tier 3 coin, the Eternal Coins, which is about the same sell price as a 6-star Legendary Soul. So in terms of like the equivalent value here, if you did get a 6-star Legendary Soul out of this tier 3 stone, that would be the same value if you traded it in and then converted it into essence as 20 essence. So what you're really choosing between here is, do I want to roll the dice and hope I get a champion that I use? Or do I just want to save up for a champion in the marketplace that I'll get eventually? The kind of the cost is the same. It's just which way you want to do it. Are you a patient person, or are you like me, not patient, and you just want to pull it and hope for the best? We have 4 legendary books. Some of them are tied behind the keys. 2 of them are. 2 of them are not. We do have some greater oil. Don't sleep on this greater oil. This is a lot of energy. 100 greater oil when you're running sort of Sand Devil 25, because you can get lesser or superior. You're probably looking at around about 700 to 800 energy for one of this one reward here. So it's quite a valuable return, especially as if you're an end game or late game player where Ascension is more important than an early to mid game. There are some chickens available as a 5-star chicken. The key thing I want to point out though is you cannot do this left hand and this fully right hand side one. You have to go down the oil path if you want to get the rewards beyond these premium rewards down here in the middle, because you need the event key, and you can't get to the event key from the left hand path. You have to go the right hand of the left and then the left hand of the right, if you don't get confused by that. You don't have to do legendary books to get the Roxam, but you do need to get to the event key because you need 2 event keys to unlock it. So that's what we're going to look at. We're going to look at the math now, and we're going to break down exactly how many shards and how much energy are you going to need to do to complete this event. So if you've ever seen me do any sort of breakdown of the hero's path by now, you'll have seen something a little bit like this. I kind of take out all of the individual rewards. We put a coin cost next to them. We map out the paths, and then we work out exactly how many summoning shards and how much dungeon divers you need to do. And we do a bit of comparison against things like the dungeon divers or other events, so that we can see, is it correlating to be better or worse than other events. So you can see I've mapped them all out here. Everything that I've marked as bonus are additional rewards you don't need to collect to get to Roxam. The path numbers are the path to get to Roxam. So in total, it's going to cost you 242,400 coins to get everything. But the hero's path is not designed as a system for you to get everything. You pick what you want. Do you want the Roxam? Do you want the legendary book? Do you want the eternal coins? Maybe you just want the oil. The good thing about the hero's path is you can pick what you want, not what you don't want, whereas all other events you have to just kind of take what you're given. You don't get a choice, and that is why hero's path can be quite good. Now in this instance, we've got 5 paths that I have picked. I've got a Roxam path, I've got a path to get 1 legendary book, I've got a path to get all of the legendary books, a path to get all of the Titan points, and then a path to get either the Eternal Soulstone or the Essence, whichever way you want. It's the same kind of points distribution. So you can see to get the Roxam, it's going to cost you 142,600 points. To get the legendary book, it's going to cost you 2,300. To get all legendary books, it's going to cost you 82,600. Titan points at 21,800, and Eternal Soulstone is the same as all legendary books at 82,600. So these are the options I'm going to be sort of doing the math around. You can pick whichever one you want. Perhaps you want 2 of the legendary books. Is about double the price. Now, whenever we look at kind of summoning events, there is always a dominant shard depending on the event. So if you're doing a champion chase, ancient shards are where it's all at, because champion chase is all about volume. It's about what you get out of the shard, not what you use to get the champion, if that makes sense. Whereas summon rush is all about the shard you're using, which makes summon rush all about sacred shards in essence, because it's the most amount of points from one singular shard. In terms of hero's path, in my opinion, it's actually void shards that are the best, because when we actually look at the sort of distribution here on the right, you can see you get about 4,500 for a sacred shard and 1,100 for a void shard. If you were to do like a simple ratio between what a summon rush gives you, because that's the closest type of model to this hero's path event where summon a shard get points, versus the summon rush to now, void shard is a little bit more efficient. You get like 10% more points out of it versus a sacred shard, which is a little bit less, the way that it kind of distributes. So when you're kind of looking at these numbers, you should probably look at how many void shards have I got more than sacred shards or ancient shards, because generally those are the shards you will likely pull in a hero's path if you want to be efficient. Obviously, you might not have the shards, but that's what you want to do. So if you want the Roxam, you're going to need to get 32 sacred or 130 void shards. You might as well forget the ancient and mystery, because that's like 800 ancient shards and 15,000 mystery shards. That's way too many. It's either 130 voids or 32 sacreds or some combination of them both. It's a very, very, very expensive Roxam. When we think back to when we had the Michinaki event, right, they did a one-time summon rush kind of event where you summon your shards and you got fragments along the way. I'm pretty sure that was only about 15 sacred shards. Guaranteed sacred champions are like 20 at most. So you're basically asking for like 50% more than the highest guaranteed ancient we've ever had. It's very expensive. Very, very expensive. I don't believe Roxam is powerful enough to basically justify that kind of investment. Very expensive. Obviously, you'll get bonus rewards along the way, like you can get a bonus legendary book, a bonus essence, or eternal soul stone, a tier 2 stone. There's rewards along the way, but it's still a very expensive path. Now, if you just want a legendary book, it's around about just over 5 sacred shards or 21 void shards. Now, keep in mind, when you're doing a normal summon rush, you normally only start getting to the legendary books at around about 5 to 4,000 summon rush points, which is around about 7 to 8, if not more, sacred shards. So this hero's path is better than a summon rush to getting a legendary book. It's pretty good in terms of that exchange rate. Now, obviously, you've got to decide whether or not pulling 5 sacred shards between fusions after we've just had a rough fusion, on a times 10 where you might not want the champions is worth that legendary book. But if you're going to do it, it's better than a summon rush. It's about 21 void shards as well. If you want all the legendary books, it's about 18 sacred shards and 75 void shards. If you want the titan points alone, just the titan points, it's basically about the same as the legendary. It's about just over or around about 5 sacred shards. There's a bit of rounding going on here. So it's around about 5 ancient shards that you've got going on here, or 20 void shards. And then if you want the Eternal Soul Stone, it's exactly the same as all the legendary books. So it's an expensive path, considering where we are in terms of mid-fusion, you know, between fusions, and the type of times 10, it's an expensive path. Now let's have a look at Dungeon Divers. You can ignore the egg coins it used to be when I did the Razelvarg one. It's the same points here, same point distribution. What we basically do is we pull out all of the points we get from the rewards of the Hero's Path. These are the same as they are currently in game. And then we basically map them out against the probabilities of getting the various types of rewards on each difficulty, right? So we can basically look at what's the odds of getting a 5-star rare on stage 20, it's about 49%. So we can do that here. Then we can map that against the number of coins we're going to get for each type of artifact reward, then work it out based on a run, and then work it out based on energy. You'll notice that you always get more average coins the higher the difficulty, but because the energy increases, you end up finding that actually stage 20 and stage 16 are far more efficient for the Dungeon Diver component because you're spending less energy doing it. So you can do bonus runs, and those bonus runs will overcome the benefit of more points per run. So where does that leave us? It leaves us in this situation here where if you really want to do it just by Dungeon Divers, you'll need to get a Roxam 73,000 energy. This is where I was saying that they always pick a dominant way to earn points. In this one, it's summoning. There's no way that you can get Roxam with doing Dungeon Divers. You know, that's an insane amount of runs. We're talking 4,566 stage 20 runs, which is the most efficient, because even though you can save yourself some energy doing stage 16, the poor gear plus the fact that it's another 600 to 700 runs versus 500 energy, it's not worth it. So stage 20 is the way I always look at these as the most efficient. You can see you're probably going to be spending an extra 9,000 energy on stage 10, but you will have to do less runs. It's about 4,100 runs, but you will increase your energy count. Now, if you want a legendary book, it's about 11,000 energy on stage 20 or 13 on stage 10. And then if you want all the legendary books, it's about 42,000 energy and 42,000 energy for the Eternal Soul Stone. So if you actually compare it against, say, 7,500 Dungeon Divers, then pretty much every path is worse in terms of how much energy you have to commit to get it done. But it is not so bad for the one legendary. The one legendary book, which doesn't really appear in a Dungeon Diver often, it's about 20% more expensive than a 7,500 Dungeon Divers. And obviously, you're still getting the same model where you're collecting rewards along the way towards that legendary book. It may not be the rewards you want, but you are collecting them. So if people are interested in the Titan points, then it's about the same as a normal Dungeon Divers. It'll cost you about 11,000 energy or around about 600 runs. Now, obviously, you can offset this and you can do min-maxing, but that's kind of like the breakdown. What would I personally do? I think one legendary book is not bad. If you want to try and pull for like a Seeker, or if you want to try and pull for one of the legendary champions, then, you know, I wouldn't go for the Roxam. I'll be honest. I don't think the Roxam is worth it. I can see some value in going for the Eternal Soul Stone. If you really want to wail hard, I can see some value in getting all the Titan points. If you are an Ultimate Death Knight avid user, maybe if you want to give yourself a little bit of sort of flexibility in terms of skipping some of the Titan events that are going to be coming up, then I could see you going for the Titan points. I'll probably just run some dungeons. I got to do the Dragon Tournament anyway for the points for the Titan event. I kind of want to complete the Titan event because that Eternal Soul Stone and the Legendary Book, in my opinion, is worth it. I don't really care about the Ultimate Death Knight. By now, if you've watched any of my content, you know I really don't like that champion. I refuse to use him, even if it was worth me using him. I will stand by that. I will not use Ultimate Death Knight until he is bug fixed and actually properly not being the most obscene, like, add 2 minutes to your game time in arena champion that he exists. So I'm not doing it for the soul. I'm doing it for the tier 5, the milestone 5 rewards. But there you go. That is the Hero's Path. It is expensive. Now, don't forget, there's also a champion training tournament on. If you haven't done your Sand Devil tournament, then tier 2 stone at the top of that's not bad. You can see I basically just got the tier 2 stone. I also level some food at the same time because I've got the Godseeker and Eerie with Ninja combo. You can do it with Chronum as well. There's other options. You can do it Supreme Gaelic. You don't have to have the Ninja, but there are options to basically farm food and do Sand Devil at the same time. There's a champion training tournament going on. There's lots going on, even though we finished a fusion. But as I said yesterday, do not feel like you have to do any of this. you can always take a break level some champions. There's a free regearing event going on this weekend. Build some new teams. You know, take that opportunity. What's nice is we're going to get a free regearing weekend with an artifact enhancement. That basically means that you can take gear off, you can level some of it up, you can get some rewards for that. It's you can't get much more efficient at building teams than you're going to get this weekend. Let me know in the comments below, guys, what path you want to take, if any at all. Are you actually interested in the Roxam? Do you want that champion? Is that a champion that you would want to see in these types of events? I personally think if you're going to do that, it needs to be a champion that has more impact. You know, Nekmuthar type champion where they actually would change a team or make it feel like it's worth picking. Even someone like Dracomorph has a bit more universality than Roxam, because that AoE is an AoE always. You don't need the Veil to start with. There's a lot less problems, and you also get the poisons, and he just generally is a better champion, right? So I do think that they're going to put champions in these hero paths. They need to have a little bit more impact in the game, rather than just a random champion that places AoE, decreased defense, and weaken, right? There's quite a few now. We've got Bellinor, Suzerain Catone, Dracomorph. There's quite a number. Aina does it as an epic. There's a number of champions that can do these types of things, so it's a little bit less value. There you go, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.